Hello and welcome to episode 11 of the Livewire Gaming Show, where I wear the same jumper every other week and Dylan doesn't show up. Anyway, Stephen is here, so we're gonna keep on going. Dylan does have a legit reason to not be here. He sends his apologies and he will be back next week, hopefully. He doesn't apologize, he said fuck everybody.
No.
But he does have a legit reason. He's not just playing Apex this week. So this week, me and Stephen are gonna talk about gaming soundtracks and songs or soundtracks from games that we love, because this is something that we have both spoken about in length. So we are going to speak about it in even more length this evening, and you have to
Yay!
We're then, if we don't run out of time as we always do, we're going to talk about our experiences with the PlayStation 5, because we are 2 of 5 people to actually have them in the country. That isn't just a 3D printed one above Stephen's right hand shoulder. Anyway, we will get started. Stephen, how have you been this week?
Good. This week we got Oddworld's Soulstorm, so this has been a good week. Free as well, I might add. Yeah, that's insane. Like, PS Plus has been decent, but to get a new release game for free that is normally €50, it's insane.
Isn't it amazing what strong competition forces companies to do, and who benefits from it?
Yeah,
we do.
Exactly. So I've put in maybe 2-3 hours of play on Soulstorm, and it is brutally difficult. Like, this is Dark Souls level, and I'm only playing on normal. I was like, yeah, whatever, just play it, thinking it'll be fine. And I swear to fucking Christ, I think I died maybe 20-30 times on the first level.
It's just like doing a raid with you in Destiny.
Hey, it's too early for sass like that.
Sorry. I haven't had full dinner yet, so I'm going to be quite sassy.
Okay. Oh god, how many Kev sides will we get? So, yeah, did that. I also finally took the plunge and signed up to Xbox Game Pass, and installed Moonlight on my PC so that I can stream it to the laptop downstairs, because you can't play Game Pass on a laptop. Unless you
you can.
So that's fun, and getting to play a few games streaming that way, and it's pretty decent, no matter what my Discord.
What is Moonlight?
So Moonlight it's like Steam Link, but it's open source, and what it does is if you add through NVIDIA Game Stream, if you add your desktop as a game, it will game stream it through Moonlight to your desktop.
So it works. It's quite like Rainway. It's the same kind of thing as Rainway.
Yeah.
Rainway, yeah, fair enough. I thought Moonlight was a game that I was missing out on.
No, and Moonlight apparently works on the Switch as well, but I'm not brave enough to try it.
No. I have too many hours on Sword and Shield to risk losing it. And too many shinies.
Yeah.
What have you been playing on Game Pass?
I went back to give the Medium a go, just to see would it stream, and it worked fine, so I'm gonna work away on that. And I'm tempted to do Nier again, but
Replicate's out soon, isn't it?
Yeah, that's why I'm like, maybe I'll go back and play it again, but it is long, so when you know what to expect, it's probably not as enjoyable. And I've been looking at maybe playing Fable 2 and just kind of jumping in and out of stuff just to try it. And it's amazing. It's such a good service.
You should jump on the pirate times with the boys. And Sea of Thieves is on it, and that is supposed to be very good.
Yeah,
it's kind of crazy. Like, it's Game Pass is one of these things that if you don't have it, you're a bit of an idiot at this stage, because it's the best deal in gaming anyway, without a shadow of a doubt. But it's probably a better deal than any streaming service at this stage. I actually saw someone ask the thing on Twitter. They're like, "Oh, what's the one streaming service you couldn't live without?" And they were obviously meant Spotify or Netflix or Amazon. And I was like, Game Pass, free games.
Yeah, no, I will say I think I was spoiled a little bit that I could get the €1 deal for so long. So now that that's gone, I'm like, oh, €15, like that's so expensive. But it's not. I
It's
pay
not
€15
really
for
like
Spotify,
yeah.
and I don't get to play games.
Like if you think
So
about it, like you could build if you were really smart about it, you could build a 700, 800 euro PC and just use Game Pass forevermore and never buy a game again, and you will never be short for choice, especially with
yeah.
like how many new releases now come to the Game Pass service. Like so much is Game Pass day one. As like Tanks Uncle Phil, you've spoiled lots of gamers all over the world, and we don't appreciate you enough for it.
Yeah, now I will say it is frustrating that PC doesn't get the same deals the Xbox does. But all that makes me want to do is buy an Xbox, but I don't want to buy an Xbox. I see why they're doing it, but I'm not buying an Xbox.
Guess what I've been considering buying this week?
Don't say an Xbox.
An Xbox.
It's
Like you need it for your shelf. I'm sorry. Like you've got your PS5, you've got your Switch. You need either a mini fridge or an Xbox in the middle there.
and you know what? It would actually fit between the
It really would.
there.
It would. Just don't tell the wife.
Yeah, or anyone else. But yeah, so that's been my week. How about you?
I actually think I have a €1 Game Pass deal there that I've been leaving there until something comes out that I want. But I do think that there is a €1 one there. This week I did not do a whole lot of gaming in the last week. My gaming this week consisted of Dynamax Adventures in Sword and Shield to try get some shiny legendaries. Not getting a shiny legendary, but getting plenty of shinies, so I won't complain too much. Chilling in Pokemon Sword and Shield Discord servers to get in on max raid dens that some kind folk are keeping open. I've gotten a ton of shinies this week. It's been great, but I haven't got the one I wanted. I did this week's Grandmaster Nightfall on Tuesday night, which was the Fallen Saber strike from Destiny 1.
God.
And it was a lot easier than I thought it was going to be. Yeah, it
really?
was. We got it first time in about 30 minutes. We went through it real quick. I'm looking at a grey beard, a grey hair beard right there. I just noticed it speckling in the light. But we flew through it. It was actually quite surprisingly easy. The boss goes down like a sack of spuds. So it was actually a fun one in comparison to last week's. But yeah, this week wasn't really about gaming for me. I had a long weekend with car issues, which I won't get into again. And on Saturday, I ripped up the carpets in my gaming room / office, whatever you want to call it. And I put down floorboards, and I'm really happy with the outcome. The boys actually said that my mic sounded a bit better after with the floorboards. That it sounded less damped out or something.
Yeah, I suppose
I don't know.
The highs are a bit better, but
Yeah, I'm sure someone on YouTube, please leave a comment and let me know if my voice is now sexy or not. Yeah, I didn't do a whole lot of game this week. I've got another 4-day weekend though. I booked Friday and Monday off because I've taken no annual leave days this year. So I've taken another 4-day weekend. And I'll play some stuff then. My brother's probably going to stay here Saturday night because WrestleMania's on. We're going to enjoy that.
nice.
So yeah, looking forward to that. Other than that, it's been a quiet gaming week. I haven't really ventured far off the sofa this week. The only other bit of news is what's that, Stephen?
That
Right
wireless.
here. Behind the lightsaber.
Oh, the Final Empire. Nice.
Yeah. I haven't started reading it yet after the trauma of Friday. If I hadn't gone and bought it, it wouldn't have fucking happened, but whatever.
You
so
cannot blame me for that.
No, I blamed Louise's brother. That's where I defaulted to.
That's fine.
It was one of those things where it was probably about 40% my fault, 60% the other person's fault. But look, it's no one got hurt, so it doesn't really matter.
It's sorted now anyway.
Yeah. it's sorted, and I'll eventually stop moaning about it. Anyway, no, I won't. We should probably move on.
Yeah. Right about this one now.
We're gonna have a nice open discussion. We just talk about the soundtracks that we love. So we kind of spoke about this earlier on. What way do we want to do this? And I think instead of structuring it, I think we can just kind of have an open discussion and just let it flow. And because we're gonna agree on quite a lot of them, I think. And I think like there might be some that I bring up that you've forgotten about, and vice versa, or ones that I haven't played, or that sort of stuff. But I think we can just have a nice open discussion.
Yeah.
So yeah,
go for it.
So before we get knee deep in it, I was going to be a bit more crude than knee deep, but I'll say knee deep. We kind of spoke about this a few weeks ago. Where a certain soundtrack got released on Spotify and iTunes, which is going to come up in the next hour or so. And we were both listening to this soundtrack, and we're like, we can actually visualize. It's like somebody is playing the game inside my brain when I listen to a certain song, and I can see the specific point of the game that I'm at when that song starts playing. And that's what really made me want to have this discussion. But like, I think music and audio in general just has this unique ability to transport you to a time and a place that from your past or from whatever that you've experienced, that I don't think any other medium of art has that ability to just pick you up and just put you in some space in the back of your head. If you think, yeah, I remember being there. I remember doing that when a certain song plays or whatever. And we all use music to relate to stuff. You saw the woman, the ex ballerina or the ex, I think she was some ex dancer in New York, but she has Alzheimer's. And they played the song that she would have danced to 50, 60 years ago. And she actually started doing the movements in perfect sync with a video of her from 50 or 60 years ago. It's amazing how music can create those links for people that they forget they're there. So do you remember the Rimini Riddle stuff? So that came out where the reason... Okay, so for anyone who doesn't know, and 99% of the world doesn't know and shouldn't know, there was a TV program in the early 90s in Ireland called the Rimini Riddle. It is the weirdest shit. I'll put a link in the description below to an episode that I recorded that I had on a VHS tape. Yes, I'm old, get over it. But I was in the Last Wish raid, going to Shuro-Chi to farm kills for some weapon catalyst or other. And when I was shooting the wish wall, there was some noise in the background that I heard. And I hadn't thought about this program in maybe 15 years. And when I heard there was some weird background noise, it was like a clattering or something. And I just went, geez, do you remember the Rimini Riddle? And I text my brother about it. So it's just crazy how audio has that ability to just boom, you're in the moment. And yeah, it's just crazy. So without further ado, soundtracks, gaming soundtracks. In my opinion, gaming soundtracks are what separates the great games from the pinnacle of games. Like just having that soundtrack that hits hard and is memorable, it just separates the great from. And in fairness, most games have phenomenal soundtracks this day and age. So Stephen, I've spoken for the last 14 minutes or so. So do you want to take the first one?
I will, but I'm actually going to be controversial. So I know we both would have had this on our list, but I decided to pick what I think is my favorite set of music from the Final Fantasy series. And it's not Final Fantasy VII. It's not the Final Fantasy VII remake. It's actually Final Fantasy XIV Shadowbringers. That soundtrack slaps. Oh my god. Like, have you seen the the intro to Shadowbringers Anywhere,
I have seen the
or a
intro.
trailer for
Yeah.
that intro. Like, it's just this dark, kind of heavy melody. It starts off with just guitar being like dun 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 dun, and it starts off like that way, and then the singer comes in, but he's like chanting. He's like, "Dur, dur, dur, dur," and you're just like,
Don't
okay, just
hold back,
quiet.
Steven. Like, don't hold back. If you want to get into this,
I can't sing, so we'd lose all two viewers.
All
But
two
it's this beautiful, like, heavy chanting guitar metal that's going on, and then it just slowly increases and starts. You can hear building to this crescendo, and then it just kicks in, and the Final Fantasy starts kicking in, and underneath it, you just hear the usual, like, Final Fantasy theme just being played underneath it. You got the opera singers going through, and then it just comes to this crazy breakdown where it goes back to this chanting, and the opera singers are singing, but the lyrics they sing have no meaning until you complete the game. And when you complete the game and listen back to it, and you hear lyrics like, "Oh my god!" It's like, this has been there from the start, and it's probably one of my favorite intro tracks to a Final Fantasy game. But Final Fantasy 14 as a whole, just has, like, the Realm Reborn stuff. So the 1.0 stuff is very kind of normal fantasy stuff. It's fine. But then Heavensward onwards, that stuff just, I don't know what they did, but it's unreal. And it's probably some of the best Final Fantasy tracks ever. And like, the way before we talked about Destiny, the raids where they bring in kind of common themes and you learn something to go through, they do the same with these soundtracks. So there will be a kind of sound, and that sound will repeat in the different tracks, but in different ways, and you hear it, and it's this kind of comforting melody. But then you get to, like, a boss fight, and you hear it in this
it's in your
completely different
face.
way, and you're like, oh my god. And all the bosses have different, like, completely different tracks that are really appropriate to the boss and to the fight that you're having, and they even just weave in storytelling to the songs. And it's just I'll have to send you just the Shadowbringers main team. It's unreal.
It's something that I think a lot of MMO, RPG, whatever you want to call them, those multiplayer, dirty word, live service games, the good ones have those, like World of Warcraft, that they have their the soundtracks for each expansion and builds up, and each boss has its own specific one, and the same goes for Final Fantasy or Destiny. Like, they have those soundtracks, and they have, because of the live service model, they keep pumping out new soundtracks for each one. So I think, it's completely get what you mean with they introduce it, and then they alter it for each boss. They alter for a next boss, or because the same with Destiny with the Deep Stone Lullaby. That's, you hear that elsewhere, just not in that kind of, I don't know what way it is, the kind of piano theme to, I don't know what instrument it's on, but it's the soothing theme rather than the you're in a boss fight theme.
Yeah, but it's like, Final Fantasies always will have probably the best soundtracks in any game.
They're phenomenal. They're beautiful. The whole way, like, that's what I did a little bit of cheating today, in that I watched videos on people's favorite soundtracks, just in case I forgot anything. And the amount of Final Fantasy ones from different games that popped up was it was. I think there must have been. It was like the top 100 from 1980 to 2018. And while there's probably 15 or 20 Mario teams in there, there was easily a dozen Final Fantasy teams.
And the thing with the Final Fantasy ones as well is, like, they're so popular and so well renowned. They have an orchestra, a live orchestra going around doing them. Like, I've seen it once, and it's amazing. And did you get the email today about the rescheduled dates for London for September this year?
It's not happening. It's just
It
not.
hurts so
Like,
much.
it's just not gonna happen. It's too early. If it was maybe March 2022, I'd be like, yeah, I've got faith in that. But September, I just think everything's jumping the gun a little bit.
Yeah.
But we'll see. We'll
So
see.
like, but that it just goes to show that the songs, like the one that I went to see back in 2015 or something, was Final Fantasy 7, Final Fantasy 9, and Final Fantasy 14. And like 7 and 9 were back in like the mono days. You know,
Yeah.
you didn't have stereo, and they were done
It's the
on
8 bit.
and it was MIDI files. And
Yeah.
here you have a full orchestra playing them, and you're like,
Yeah.
holy shit! Like
Mm-hmm.
there's just no comparison for me. Like I could have done a list of all my favorite Final Fantasies.
I know
And
we could literally do a full show on just Final Fantasy soundtracks or Final Fantasy games or anything. I'm not even I wouldn't even consider myself a humongous Final Fantasy fan. Like I've played 7, I love 7, but I haven't really played a lot of the other ones. I know about them, but I haven't really, like, if you look at my Steam wish list, it's Final Fantasy 3,
all of
4,
them.
6, 8, 9, 13. I think I own 13. But yeah, it's just there's a lot of Final Fantasy there. I just haven't played a lot of them. But yeah, the soundtracks are incredible. They're beautiful. They really are beautiful soundtracks.
They really are. So
Right. We're gonna get it out of the way. Seeing as we're on the topic of Final Fantasy, we might as well get it done. And I want to bring in the remake soundtrack because this is the one we were talking about. It was about 6 weeks, 2 months ago when the soundtrack came out. We both were sitting there talking about how we could listen to the song in order of the album because it kind of goes in the order of it, and it was literally like someone was in my head replaying the game as I sat there and watched it in VR. Like, I could actually visualize walking through the slums with Erit for the first time when that her song came on, or going down and fighting the what was the thing's name, the frog. I can't think of the name. My brain's not working.
it's the Hagen.
No, it's in when you're doing the side missions when you go to Erit's house and you go down to save the kid from the.
Oh, oh shit, yeah. Um, Jesus. So we can recall the places, we just can't recall the names.
Just can't recall the names.
But
I just can't
it's
remember the
funny.
name of it. But it's the soundtrack I could remember from doing that specific fight. But yeah, with like the sound with Final Fantasy 7, know the intro to it where it's going in over, it's coming out over the whole city of Midgar, and then the title pops up across the screen, and it's like dun, 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 and it just goes off. It's just that and I remember watching that for the first time, and you were literally sitting in your chair, pumping your fist. And I know that sounded like the victory that I did, but it's not. It's just, and then it zooms in on the train pulling up, and it's just, yeah, it's
What I loved about
goosebumps.
that part,
It brings goosebumps.
yeah.
Yeah.
What I loved about that part was the little bit of blue balls they gave it, because in
Yeah.
the original, it would just kick in and you get your dun, 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 dun,
Yeah,
dun.
that's
But in
it.
this one,
Yeah.
they added in an extra like dun dun.
They
dun,
did.
and I was like, it's like, no, give it to me. And then you're like, yes.
But it's kind of like what you were saying as well, that like when 7 and 9, when they first came out, it was mono. It was nearly 8-bit songs. And for them to take those songs and make them contemporary, and it's, yeah, they did a seriously incredible job on the remake soundtrack, because it modernizes the whole soundtrack while still staying true to those roots. And like when you hear Erit's theme for the first time, when you hear Tifa's theme for the first time, it's just like, yes, it's so good. And then the new stuff they also added to it, like Hollow,
Yeah.
like when full spoilers for Final Fantasy VII's ending right now. Okay, Final Fantasy VII Remake's ending right now. The part where you see Zack walking back with carrying Cloud towards Midgar, and Hollow kicks
Yeah.
in, and then it goes off into space, and it like whatever. It's just like wow, just wow, and actually watching. I don't know if you've seen it, but it's Carnage's playthrough of it, and
Yes.
when that
Yeah.
song kicks in, he actually just goes, "Wow." and it's perfect. It's just the most
I think he was
perfect
quiet
reaction.
for like the whole time, wasn't he?
Yeah, he was just like, wow, wow.
Yeah.
But yeah, like just yeah.
But even the as you said, the original stuff, or I guess the remake stuff, the actual original songs of the remake,
Yeah.
like the Highway song from the Underground Highway, that one is like that's
It's
so
great.
catchy. It's
Oh,
so annoying, but
yeah.
it's so catchy. I love it.
Now saying that, there is the song. I think it's when you're going through the tunnels towards. I get confused on the sectors' names. I'm fucking awful at remembering numbers. But when you're going to the red light district,
Sector 9.
yeah, I think it's sector 9. When you're in the tunnel going towards that, there's that real kind of groovy, disco-y kind of theme. And then, yeah, it's great. And then, yeah, in sector 9, the team there is, it's just, it's all amazing. It really is just, it's all. And the only bad thing about it was that when they released it first on Spotify, they were all in Japanese titles. So I didn't have a fucking clue which ones I was listening to.
But that's what kind of spurred us on to be like,
actually figure out which one is it. Yeah. But yeah, I could listen to it. I could listen to that all day. I listen to it in the shower sometimes because we have that fancy Bluetooth speaker mirror that I still haven't sent you the name of. But I listen to it. It's wonderful. It really is.
Yeah.
It makes you want to play the game again just hearing the soundtrack.
I know, but no, trust me,
I'm waiting.
It's not worth it. Wait till the 60.
I'm waiting until a couple of days before it comes out, and then I'll do a fresh playthrough and then play the expansion.
No, I'm gonna go fresh playthrough when the expansion comes out, I think.
No, I'm gonna wait so that I
No,
I'm gonna try finish it as the expansion comes out. So it's like finish the playthrough straight into the expansion.
No, I want to do a full playthrough with the 60 FPS.
Oh yeah, shit. That's a good point. I didn't think of that. Damn, I didn't think of that.
That's what you need.
God damn it, Square. Release the 60 FPS a week early. Cowards. Fucking cowards. Yeah, it really is. That's just... You could play me a song and I could nearly tell you exactly what part of the game that song is from.
Yeah. It's so distinguishable.
It's iconic. It's iconic, really.
Yeah. That's amazing. So I'll keep within the Square Enix side of things here. And the next soundtrack that I want to talk about is the soundtrack from Kingdom Hearts 2.
Oh, God.
Have you ever played Kingdom Hearts? No?
I haven't played Kingdom Hearts. I have no interest in playing Kingdom Hearts.
I get it. I can see why people don't.
The only reason I'd be interested in playing Kingdom Hearts is because of the Final Fantasy characters in it.
Yeah. I think that was the only reason I played it at the start, and then I got hooked into it. But one of the reasons I got hooked was because, like we talk about intro songs, the intro song to Kingdom Hearts is called Dearly Beloved, and it's this beautiful piano piece, and it just, as you're going into the title screen, so in Kingdom Hearts 1, you get your title screens with all the copyright notices about Tarzan and Winnie the Pooh, who owns them, Edgar Rice,
Not in China,
all
though.
that stuff. Not in China. We're now banned in China, thanks. So you get all that, and then you get your splash screen, and it starts playing Dearly Beloved. But in Kingdom Hearts 2, they use those title screens and copyright notices as part of the song. So you get this violin coming in, playing the one note just before the piano kicks in. And it's just, I've never heard like one note change a song completely, but it does that, and it gives you this sense of what's to come. It's this familiarity, but it's different. And then within it, then you get all these beautiful Disney-like Final Fantasies. It's strange because you know they're Final Fantasy songs, but they're very clearly made for a Disney audience, and it's it's just crazy because they've taken the best elements of the music from Final Fantasy and mixed it with the poppy, upbeat part of Disney. But then in Kingdom Hearts 2,
Disney
where
has upbeat songs.
well, think about like well,
I,
the Aladdin
I, I
one.
only like the threatening, sinister ones, like Scar's song in The Lion King, which they butchered
Yeah,
in the remake, but we won't talk about that.
I haven't seen it.
It's great,
The
apparently, that song.
but the story in Kingdom Hearts 2 gets darker, so they start bringing in more of those dark elements, and that comes through really strongly in the soundtrack. And one of the songs in it is called Organization 13, and it's almost like a mirror of Dearly Beloved, where you've got this beautiful solo piano, and you have this hauntingly dark piano playing a similar track, and it's just I don't know how they do it. I actually can't remember who the composer is. I think it's Tsuru something. But it's not Nobuo Uematsu anyway. But they just have his way of storytelling through music, which I know is getting more common in games, but back then that wasn't very common. And I just remember that soundtrack in particular just hitting me in ways that other games didn't, other than Final Fantasy. And this was now the PS2 era, so you started getting stereo music. You started getting orchestral, actual instruments playing, and I think what I really liked as well was I was learning piano at the time, badly, and I tried to teach myself the song "Dearly Beloved," and I could get the right hand stuff, but I could never get playing the left hand. And then from that, I got into trying to learn other instruments, try and play other game music, which is notoriously difficult on any instrument. But yeah, Kingdom Hearts 2 was one of the kings for me.
Oh wow, you went there.
I did.
You went there. That
I
was a
did.
Kev joke. Did
That
you
was a Kev
actually
joke.
just to tangent off soundtracks a bit? Did you see that they did something really scummy with the Kingdom Hearts release on PC? And that like
Oh yeah, they
they'd been
charged
up for
full price.
pre-order for fucking months, and then the
Yeah,
last 3 or 4 days before release, they went, and there's a discount on it. Now, in fairness, they did give everybody the discounted price, but it's still it kind of shows that it probably didn't sell as well as they hoped. Number one, because it was full price for all of them, and number two, because of the store that it was on sale on. A lot of people just don't like the Epic Game Store.
I wonder
However, it
why
is
that is.
free game Thursday. Go get your new free game at the Epic Game Store. Don't say no to free games. Free games are good.
Yeah,
My
I
brother,
do that.
my brother was asking me today, actually, just to continue tangenting away, making up words now. But he was like, "Oh, I'm really bored playing FIFA on my PS5. I need a new game to play." And I went, "Have you heard of the PlayStation Plus collection? All of these games can be yours at no extra cost." So he's gone home to download something. I think he's gonna play Uncharted 4 because he hasn't played that yet. He enjoyed the first one. So my brother's the most like when you hear casual gamer, that's my brother. I don't know how it happened. It just did, but all he plays is
You got all
FIFA
the
and
good genes.
yeah, I got the gamer genes. All he plays is
Mm.
FIFA and Pro Evolution Soccer, and that's it. He literally bought a PlayStation to play FIFA. But anyway, moving on because
Yeah.
he'll probably hear this, and I love you really, Ado. I promise.
Yeah.
Um. So yeah, I'm gonna go back into the past a bit with my next one, rather than just saying Cyberpunk straight away, because we all know it's coming. But I'll wait and hold it out and build the tension for that.
Blue
Um.
Bulbous.
Do you remember? It was the mid 2000s, as far as I remember, and you just were in this really tense, long boss fight, and you finish that boss fight, and you enter a tunnel, and at the end of this tunnel, there's a ladder. And there's nothing else in this tunnel. It's just a ladder. So you start climbing this ladder. And this ladder is very, very long. and then a certain song kicks in and starts playing, and
The
yes,
feeling
it is
silent.
the tide. It is a, what's the word? An a cappella version of the title song from Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater, and it's really just breaks the monotony of climbing the ladder. And you might think that climbing a 300 rung ladder is boring or whatever it is, but it's really not, because you've got this really soothing song playing in the background, and it's really nice. And it's after it kind of breaks, like, you've had this long drawn out boss fight against um
The end, is it?
the end, the old guy, the end.
Yeah, the end.
Yeah, and it's really tense, and it's not difficult, but it's challenging in a certain way.
I believe your PS
Yeah.
2 alone for 2 weeks.
Yeah, but it's kind of like, it feels kind of like a reward that you finished this, and now you just get to relax and just enjoy this song playing. It just takes the tension, and it kind of reminds me of the way that Luke Smith speaks about the Vault of Glass and raids in general. That after a tense fight, you can't just be thrown straight into the next tense fight, because people, they need a break. So it needs peaks and valleys. It needs to rise and fall and have that pacing. And I think that's, the ladder is really about pacing, because Snake Eater as a game is, and then you have the ladder and it just takes all of it out for 5 minutes or whatever it is, 3 minutes. And it was the same what Luke Smith said about after the Templar fight in the Vault of Glass, where you have the big drop down to the Gorgon maze, and then you have the tension, that then you have the jumping pulsar where you jump across and you work your way down to the actual Vault of Glass itself. And it's the reward of letting just all the tension just flow out of you. It's like having a massage of your brain almost. And it's the same way they have those encounters and raids, and that's what this was in Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. You have that song Snake Eater, and it's, yeah, and that song, anyway, that song is incredible. It's like a James Bond theme song, which,
Yeah.
that was intentional, because Metal Gear Solid 3 Snake Eater is very James Bond kind of inspired in a way. And if you listen to that Snake Eater song, it is a James Bond. It's a James Bond theme song in disguise. It's a great song. I played in the car. I played in the car sometimes, and Louise is like, "What the fuck are you listening to?" Like, it's Metal Gear Solid Snake Eater. Leave me alone. I love this song.
You should play the version of the ladder so that it just starts off with a little "What a thrill."
I played for her. I made her watch that today. She's like, "What are you watching? Why am I watching this?" I'm like, "I wanted to make sure I was correct on something." And just to actually
I want to watch the
that,
3-minute ladder climbing.
Yeah, I like watching ladder climb streams, and just to actually, Metal Gear Solid's soundtracks in general are fantastic.
Yeah,
especially the original Metal Gear Solid on PS1. That's a fantastic soundtrack. But yeah, this is less about the soundtrack of Snake Eater and just about the song Snake Eater, because it's a beautiful song.
Yeah, definitely. And yeah, like I think when I think back of my time playing Metal Gear, I think that one moment is the one that sticks out to me above all else. Like, all the betrayals, all the revelations about the Lalelu, the Patriots, all that stuff that no one understands. That
Someone
moment stands
understands
out.
it. He'll be in the comments section giving out to you for not understanding it.
It's okay, it's gone to Xbox now, it's fine.
Then, don't spoil the news.
That moment, it's just, as you said, I actually think, one, they're probably trying to hide a loading screen. And two, I actually think it's a symbolization of the change from the kind of naive take you have on the game up until that point to the more Soviet betrayal that's to come, and everything that comes after. You go from being, this lone soldier to the super soldier you're supposed to be, and And it is, I think, it is that transition, and even you can probably think of it as nearly as a physical representation from where you start to where you're going, and even where the game goes after that. Like, think of everything that comes after that. It's
Do you know
mental.
what? It's been so long since it's like 15, 16 years. For some reason, I thought that was before the final fight against the boss. And it was only when I actually looked into it, and no, it's not. It's like halfway through the game, and I'm just making up shit in my head again. It's really just a representation of Snakes and Ladders, the game, because why not? It's snake on a ladder. It's snakes and ladders.
True. Yeah, that's just no deeper than that.
Again, I'm making up shit. So yeah.
Actually, speaking of Metal Gear soundtracks, the one Metal Gear soundtrack that I have here that I have really fond memories for and is on my Spotify playlist every so often is Metal Gear Rising Revengeance.
That's interesting because I have a different one on mine.
Have you played Metal Gear Rising Revengeance?
I have played it, yeah.
It's literally just a metal
It's a Doom soundtrack. It's a Doom soundtrack.
Yeah.
Like, and actually, just before you go into this, I know neither of us really play Doom.
No, not really.
No.
But the Doom soundtrack's awesome.
But yeah, honorable mention, the Doom soundtrack. It's amazing. Doom 2016, that is, and also the original one from the 90s, 80s. I don't know when it was. I'm old. Sorry, Stephen. Revengeance, off you go.
Yeah, similar to the Doom soundtrack. It's just heavy guitars, nowhere near as heavy as Doom now, but it's just such a different game, and the OST goes with that as well. And I think half of the fun I had from that game was just the soundtrack, because it's
more Trivium than Machine Head. If Doom is Machine Head, Rising Revengeance is Trivium.
That's a very good analogy, because I like both.
I also like both. I prefer Machine Head to Trivium.
I actually think I prefer Trivium, but it's only because I listen to them more.
Biggest Trivium fan, but you know what? It's more Dragon Force than Trivium, actually. No, okay, continue. We're breaking the analogy. I'm breaking my own analogy.
No, don't break good things. But anyway, I won't go into it because I think the game as a whole wasn't an amazing game. It was fun.
I enjoyed it.
I enjoyed it for what it was, but I was disappointed when I played the demo. I was like, what is this?
Yeah.
And then I
cleared it. I can't remember the ending. I can't remember the start, middle, or ending. I just know I enjoyed myself.
You fight the senator who ends up being like a nanomachine himself, and there's this whole like quick time event where you punch him.
That's why mental. I don't remember it, because I fucking hate quick time events.
Yeah. But it's that soundtrack is just an example of they went to a band and said, here, write us a metal soundtrack and we'll just put it in the game. And they're like, cool. Like some of the songs, like one of the songs called Red Sun, has nothing to do with the game. And it's about Red Sun over Paradise.
Cool. Just sounds cool. Yeah. So, maybe Raiden is the Red Sun over Paradise. In some weird way.
This is Snakes and Ladders. Just
exactly
making it too deep.
Right. Yeah. We'll wrap up on the Metal Gear Solid stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna throw in the much forgotten about, by the way, Metal Gear Solid Ground Zero's soundtrack. It's got David Bowie on it. That's all it needs. It's got David Bowie, and that's all it needs. The rest I don't give a shit about. It's got Bowie. Moving on. It has though. Yeah. It's when you the helicopter. It's got Oh my god! I can never remember the name of the song. It's one of my favorite songs. It's The Man Who Sold the World.
Oh, it does. Yeah,
it does. It has The Man Who Sold the World plays at the helicopter where the villain jumps on the helicopter. Yeah, it's beautiful.
Yeah,
and it's David Bowie. Like it's David Bowie.
Fair.
Right, I think it's your turn.
Oh, okay. I'll stick with the heavier stuff. And these games, all of them have fantastic soundtracks, but I think I'll go with the most recent one just because it's fresher in my head. I didn't go back and listen to them. But Devil May Cry.
Oh, I forgot about that. That's a good day. They have, yeah, and it's the
They
same kind
have
of
amazing.
hack and slash or shoot 'em up like
Yeah.
Doom. It kind of goes in rhythm with what you're doing.
Hmm.
Yeah, and it makes yeah.
Yeah.
I forgot about the Devil May Cry ones. They've got
Oh,
great
they're like
soundtracks. Yeah,
they do. I'm
they're
trying
great.
to
Yeah. Holy
trying
shit,
to
I
remember.
forgot that.
I think it's in three. I think is
Yes,
where in your battle team there's like lyrics in the background to it, and um,
they're
I can't
somewhere.
remember. I just remember they're just phenomenal. Like it's just what do you want when you're hacking and slashing at marionettes and demons? Like you want some heavy metal shit,
You
and
do.
that's what it delivers on.
What did 3 come out on? Was that PS4 or
PS
PS3 or 2?
two, PS2.
Aha, found it right away.
Oh, that's four.
It's
Why are you
4.
thinking of four?
I don't
No,
know.
get three.
It's 4. I don't have 3. There's 4.
That's on the PlayStation 3.
Yeah. Yeah, that's what I meant.
Yeah,
PS3.
yeah,
Ooh, I didn't know
yeah.
I had
Four
an
was
art book
good.
for this.
But yeah, the Devil May Cry games just absolute slaps. That's what they do.
No, I've been meaning to
Um,
play him. I think it's called DMC, isn't it? The most recent one.
no, the recent one
Oh
is
no, it's
the
Devil May Cry
continuation.
5. Yeah,
Yeah.
no, I've been meaning to play Devil May Cry 5.
Oh, it's so good. Oh, it's. I played it there last year. It's really, really good.
I think I
Well
have
worth.
it. I think I have it on something somewhere. I think I do own it somewhere. I just haven't played it yet.
It's so worth it. And there's one song in that. It's
Ah,
called Devil Trigger, and it's so good.
yeah,
It's on
same.
Spotify. Go find it.
I
The
will.
whole soundtrack is on. Just play Devil Trigger.
That's
Fucking
become
amazing.
like one of my new things I do is listen to game soundtracks instead of
Yeah,
instead of listening to like artists' albums or songs. I'm listening to game
yeah, yeah.
soundtracks all the time. It's driving Louise insane. I'd say. Yeah, I didn't think
Oh,
of Devil May Cry. Completely went out of my mind. Devil May Cry.
no,
I bought that in
straight in there.
the old Virgin shop in Blanche.
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. Yeah.
Like, but that's how old that is. It was
I played
cheaper.
it at a friend's house.
It was like 60 quid in game, like 60 quid in
Jesus.
HMV and like 45 quid in Virgin for whatever reason. So it got bought in Virgin.
I think I got it for Christmas. I played it in a friend's house
No,
and loved it. And my
I was in
parents
Games
got it for
Workshop.
Christmas.
I was in Games Workshop and I don't know. I had some event on recently and had 50 quid, and I was like, I'm gonna buy a new PlayStation game. And one of my mates from back then, Liam, was like, well, I'm playing this at the moment and it's great, so buy that. I was like, okay. Alan, who works in Games Workshop, Alan, I'm not old enough to buy this game, can you buy it for me?
Oh, don't call Alan out like that. But yeah, so Devil May Cry.
Alan was great. Alan gave my brother a ton of SpongeBob DVDs just because he's a nice guy. Dylan didn't like him and he didn't like Dylan, but I got on great with the guy.
Yeah, well, yeah. What can you do? Go on, it's your turn. What have you got?
I still don't want to go to Cyberpunk. I want to keep that for a while. I've gone blank on my list. I'm going to be totally honest. I've gone blank on my list right now. So I'm going to have to go to Cyberpunk. So I know you've been playing a bit more Cyberpunk lately,
Hmm.
and I'll separate into two parts. You've got the OST, so the soundtrack playing during missions and during boss fights, etc., etc., and all of that stuff is great. Like you've got the Johnny Silverhand. I can't think of the name of it, even though I put it at the end of the podcast or at the beginning of the podcast every other week. It is called The Rebel Path. I love that's the song that just be at the start of the podcast most weeks, and it's gonna be at the start of this one just to make a point. But I just love that do 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 do. It's like I'm a cyber cowboy and I'm gonna fuck you up basically. But like a lot of the stuff, the Cyberpunk stuff is just, it sounds like the main menu song is brilliant. The credit song is brilliant. It's all brilliant. But then there's also the songs that play on the radio in Cyberpunk, and it's kind of done the same way that Grand Theft Auto is done, where you've got songs playing, you've got your different radio stations and blah blah blah. But the difference with Cyberpunk is all of those songs were recorded specifically for this game. And some of the, like, I'm listening to that soundtrack and I'm going, I wish this band was a real band. I want this band's album because it's just so good. And it's across all of the stations. You got the stuff on I can't think of the name of it. It's just Night City FM, I think it is, where you've got that kind of pop music of the future. And then you go to the more metal stations. You've got Samurai have like 5 or 6. So basically they went to a band, some Scandinavian metal band, and just went, we need you to record some music. Have fun. And they recorded 5 or 6 original tracks for Samurai the band, which is Johnny's band in it. And those songs they are 80s hair metal songs, like Guns N' Roses or more like Motley Crue, that sort of stuff, but transported to the 2070s. Well, the 2020s, but it's played in the 2070s. But there's just, those songs are fantastic. And then you've got Kerry's version of Chippin' In, which was recently released on Spotify as well. So they've been releasing the volumes of songs on Spotify over the last few months. And I think last week they released volume 3 or volume 4, and then other songs. So they've all of the songs from the radio stations on Cyberpunk are now on Spotify. They slap. Everything is great. It's music that I wish was real artists, because I'd actually want to go see these bands play. Like you've got like, and there was also, aside from actually the Samurai songs, you've got another band on the game called Residrone that are just kind of electronic metal band. They're great. They finally released those on Spotify as well, and there's 3 or 4 of those. It's again just like Final Fantasy. I hear those songs and I want to go back and play that game and just be in the city, just in that atmosphere. And it really creates that atmosphere of you're actually in this city, you're actually immersed in this city, and then something stupid happens and you realize you're playing a game again.
Yeah, I have to say, like, with the bits of Cyberpunk that I've played so far, I haven't actually noticed the soundtrack, and I think it's probably more to do with I'm too early in the game for things to start forming.
How far in are you, roughly?
So I'm looking for Evelyn, and I'm with Judy going into. I'm trying to find her. I think someone has kicked the shit out of her and has taken her or something.
You're still quite early then.
Yeah. So like I don't have that relationship with the world yet. I'm still only getting some of the early snippets of bits. But like the intro song to that as well is, you know, the loading screen, just even
just hearing it, even like the home menu screen is fantastic. The title screen menu, the title screen song, it's great.
So like the like it's annoying that I'm so far out of it now that like I can see I want to be in the world and I feel like it's trying to pull me in. I just wish it was a little bit more stable to do that.
Yeah.
Just on my system, but I'm really like, I'm tempted now to go find the stuff on Spotify and just play them because everyone raved about how good that soundtrack is.
There's a lot of different stuff. Like I have them all saved as playlists. So you've got the original score, which came with the game, and you get it if you own it on GOG. You can get the soundtrack on GOG, the OST on GOG, and a lot of that stuff is just, it's like cyber electronic metal. And then you've got all the characters. You've got Adam Smasher's song, which is fucking great. You've got the Rebel Path for Johnny stuff, which is again great. But then you've got Cyberpunk Radio Volumes 1, 2, 3, and 4, and then I think it's just Cyberpunk 27, more music from Night City. So they obviously just decided we'll just release the rest of it. And I think there's like 40 songs on that alone, and some of it is just like you've got a flavor for everybody. You've got your pop, you've got a lot of K-pop for whatever reason. You've got obviously K-pop's going to take over the world in the next 50 years. You've got like your metal that's like 80s, 90s grungy metal, but kind of transported and made contemporary for the 20s, 70s. You've got rap, you've got everything, and it's like a real world, but it's all music that was recorded just for this world. And I think as a whole, what makes a lot of the problems with Cyberpunk is the performance is the main thing really for most people, but some of the bugs are really immersion breaking, and they're kind of bigger things in the whole. But if you actually look at the finer details, and the finer details is what makes it so incredible to me, is like the music, or even if you're in certain cars, there's like LEDs on the dashboards that pulse to the beat of the music that's playing. And like that's just cool. The fact that that's in a game is insanity to me anyway. And it's the finer things, and the music's fantastic. It really is. I could listen to that and not listen to anything ever, because there's such a wide range of stuff there. And actually, just before we move on from it, did you know that every quest in Cyberpunk is titled after a song that CD Projekt Red Imagine Johnny Silverhand would have been a fan of? So every single quest title in the game is after a real song title. So you've got stuff by like Slipknot is one of them. You've got stuff by Johnny Cash. You've got all that kind of punk metal that they thought Johnny Silverhand would have been a fan of. All of the quests are titled after it. And to go even deeper, there's a mission, the final mission with Judy in Judy's side quests. I can't think of the name of the song or what it's by off the top of my head. It is I think it's a Radiohead song.
Not
I
Creep,
just can't. Not Creep. It's not Creep though. That would be accurate. I'd have to find it.
Paranoid Android?
No, it is. I'm not going to find it. Anyway, the final mission with Judy is basically the music video from this song that is playable in the game. If you watch the music video side by side with the actual side mission in the game, they line up so well. It's really incredible. And again, that sort of stuff is just missed because of all of the bullshit that happened with Cyberpunk. But the music's great, and no one can debate that the music is great.
Cue debate. Yeah. I'm really looking forward to getting into that. Yeah. Okay, I'm gonna pull this one out because I think you're gonna pull it out at some stage. And I'm gonna go for something more modern. And I'm gonna be very specific in the release album of this game. So the game is Destiny 2, and the album is Whisper of the Worm. That track, Whisper of the Worm, is one of my favorite songs in Destiny. I just love that 80s synth wave metal that goes through.
Should we just say that we're just gonna do a pull off the highway and just talk about Destiny's soundtrack for the next while, because there's a lot we can talk about, and you're gonna start with Whisper of the Worm, so off you go. Yeah,
cool. Just that.
Just a forewarning for people who get fed up of us talking about Destiny.
But the like that secret mission, just the whole soundtrack. So you go, it starts off with A Thousand Words or a Thousand Voices or something, or a Thousand Wings. That's the song, and it's just a typical kind of like sounding, and it goes through until you get to the part where Zol starts talking to you,
Yeah.
and you come into this big greeny, like kind of Venusy looking
Is no
space,
light here.
and then all you hear is like do new new new. It yeah, actually kind of sounds a little bit like Jurassic Park. When I think of it, that start, but in 80s synthwave. So but no, that I just have that song on repeat. But I just have that song on repeat every few days. I'll just go to on Spotify, just hit loop, and just let that play for hours on end. I
I
just
don't
love
know
the
if I can actually pick out one Destiny song from the 7 years we've been playing it, because I don't think there's a bad song. I don't think they've ever done a bad song as part of the soundtrack. I think they've placed some that were better than where they were put. So I'm trying to think of, there was one last season. I think it might have just been the from doing the Wrathborn hunts. The song, the boss fight song for that, deserves to be in a much better place than it is. But I think back, the like I remember when you're walking, when you're doing actually doing the quest that was in Destiny 1, the actual campaign story, when you get to the Black Garden and you're fighting the heart, and
yeah
that
yeah
soundtrack is,
yeah.
I think that was the first time where the music played in Destiny. I just kind of went, yes, this is amazing.
Really, because
Yeah.
my first one was the Sepix Prime one, and then when they released it in Rise of Iron,
Yeah, I was gonna say
oh
that the Sepix
oh
Perfected team, which is the one that they've brought back for this one,
yeah
that they brought back to Destiny 2 for the revamped version of it, copy paste version, is the Sepix Perfected team is, again, it's metal, it's electronic metal.
But that was based on some person on YouTube covered it on drums, or
Oh,
like
I
covered the
didn't
whole
know
thing.
that. I didn't know that.
Yeah, that's what. Now I could be wrong on that, but I'd seen it before that someone had covered that song, put it on YouTube, and then Bungie were like, "Hey, this slaps.
Yeah.
We're doing it," and they did it. The mad bastards, they did it.
But even like the sound design in Destiny is
Mm.
incredible. Like I can't remember who it was or what I was listening. I was listening to some podcast or something where they were actually talking about how they designed the sound in Destiny, and half the stuff you're hearing is just everyday household goods. Like
Yeah,
like some of it is just two pans been banged together. There was one for Beyond Light that was literally a woman's um
hair dryer or something, wasn't it?
no, it was for a breast pump. One of the
That's the
one of
one.
the
Yeah,
sounds in
yeah,
Beyond Light is a breast pump, because there were people who were working at home, like because of the
yeah.
pandemic, people were working at home, and they're like, "What can we use? Oh, this sounds kind of cool." So it's just like sound design in games just baffles me, but like it's the most impressive part to me is how is sound design in games. It's so impressive.
Mm.
It's so, it blows my mind that they can do this, because that's what gaming, like video games, are really that. They're, you've got pictures, you got motion picture, you got music, you've got art, you've got literature, and video games are all of that crammed into one thing. A video game shouldn't work. Like they should not work, but yet they do. And it's just,
Yeah.
yeah.
And speaking of the sound and
I'm not
Destiny
finished
and
listing out songs from the Destiny soundtracks, by the way. So just before
no,
you move
no,
on too
I'm
quick.
not moving on. I'm not moving on from Destiny. But what I'm saying is, like, a lot of the games that I've picked I've always said there's a good hook in the splash screen. And do you remember in the alpha and beta of Destiny, and the start to D1, and you had that beautiful twilighty sound
Yeah,
going into just before you press X, like that's the
I missed
high
that
space
sound.
fantasy. Yeah,
I missed that. Can we have that back, please?
Yeah, I want that back because they brought it back for the Age of Triumphs, wasn't it? But that's like all you need is a hook like that in a game, and it gets people on side straight away. And Destiny did that,
Yeah, the
and then
music.
continue to do it.
It could have used to do it. Like if you did Deep Stone Lullaby is one of the most beautiful pieces of music I've heard in a game in a long time, and a lot of that, like that's just a basic version of the overall themes where it's everything combined in different instruments, and it sounds incredible. And they use that again in encounters and during boss fights. But again, as we were saying earlier, like there's songs in Destiny you hear, and it just transports you to a specific place when you hear it. Like when you hear the Cabal theme for the first time in a while, and you're like, "Oh, I'm back on Mars."
Yeah, jeez.
Yeah, it's and you got the Regicide theme, like the stuff for Oryx. Like that Regicide theme
Yeah,
is so sinister and so like when you I used to hate turning on fucking PlayStation and having your headset on because it just boomed through your ears. Like, he's coming for me! Don't take me!
and then he put on a sparrow horn as if that wasn't enough. Just hearing it logging in.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
yeah, like there's a lot of incredible. We could literally sit here and listen to Destiny soundtrack all evening. There's so
Well,
many.
actually, let's call out the one bad song that is placed in an awful position, and then they brought it back in, trying to redeem it, and made it worse. "Hope for the Future" by Paul McCartney.
Where did they put that first?
It was the end to D1, and it's now the music that the Vandals listen to in the Tangled Shore Lost Sector beside Spider. If you go in, you hear them playing. You'll hear them every so often playing
I
"Hope for the
love that.
Future."
I love that Lost Sector, and I'm very mad that you hate it.
No, because it will sometimes play the cowboy music. But
Yeah,
then
no,
it'll
I
play
know
"Hope for the
that.
Future," and then I'm like, "Fuck that one! I hate that song. Why is Paul McCartney in my game? Get him out of it."
Why not?
Because he's shit.
That's fair. You're not a Beatles fan then.
No, not really.
Me neither.
I'm not a Paul McCartney fan either.
Nah, fair
I mean,
enough.
of all of them, he's a dick. But just that song, like, like other songs have lyrics and they work really well in the game. This one just it doesn't need to be there. It's like Activision said, "Oh, you need some star power. Let's get Paul McCartney." I was like, really?
It could have been worse. It could have been "I'm a Starboy" playing in there.
True.
Better or worse? Vote in the
Or
comments.
Nicki Minaj or something.
You just imagine a drag just twerking to super bass in the Cosmodrome just because.
Hey, Randall might be into that.
Right, so shall we move on?
Have you got more? Have you remembered?
I've got a few more that I could probably talk about. I think before we do that, we should probably throw in. I actually don't know. You might actually have them in there.
Just throw it in. Go on.
So I think if we didn't include this soundtrack, we will be told we're not gamers. We're not allowed to be gamers anymore. And that is the Ocarina of Time soundtrack.
I have that. Yeah.
It's a bit before my time. I do own it. No, like I wouldn't have played it back in the when it first came out, but I have it there. Like I know about Ocarina. I'm not an idiot. I'm not that bad. But not including the Ocarina of Time, it's a staple in any gaming soundtrack list. It's iconic. And there's so many songs on that soundtrack that are just fantastic. So yeah, we have to throw in Ocarina.
They're all ingrained in my head. All the Ocarina
Yeah.
songs. I know them all.
Yeah. And I also, as both of us are mainly PlayStation players that have now come across the PC, we probably don't have this one on our lists, but I think it would also be You're Not Gamers Anymore if we didn't include the Halo title screen soundtrack. That
I have it there.
So
yeah,
and that was actually I think Chaotix answered with that we put the question out on Twitter and Chaotix answered with his main words would be Halo, Mass Effect, and Destiny. So we had to give Halo a mention in there. And while we are talking about the Twitter, a few people did actually answer this week. Dan came out with "This Is What You Are" from the Warframe original soundtrack. I've not played a lot of Warframe, so I don't know what that song is. However, if he is listening, he is raging right now because I know he played it for me at some point in the Discord. But that's what Dan's one was. And Serrated Viper came in with Metal Gear Solid 4.
Oh my god, I'm so shocked.
Final Fantasy 14 Shadowbringers. Nier Automata, or however you want to pronounce it. Halo ODST and the Destiny Rise of Iron.
Oh, the ODST soundtrack is beautiful. Oh, that's a great one. Yeah, good suggestions. Yeah,
they are very, very good suggestions.
So go on. Let's see. Let's go back to your list.
List.
What have you remembered?
I haven't remembered it, if I'm being completely honest with you. I was sitting there like, right, we're having a general conversation and we'll let it flow, so I don't need to write a list. And I should have wrote a list because I've forgotten.
Always write a list.
I'm awful. Yeah, I've forgotten.
I throw another one.
You go on, throw another one. See if you can jog my memory.
So this is a game you've played, but I don't think you've completed.
Okay.
It's a recent one, and it's the only one of these that I've played. And the soundtrack to this it's so good. It's just that orchestral Nordic sound, and it's God of War 2018.
It's God of War, yeah.
It's such an amazing soundtrack. Have you completed it? No,
I haven't completed it. I was waiting to go back on PS5 when it got a 60 FPS update, and I just haven't got around to it yet because I love God of War. I played all the God of Wars when I was younger, but the 30 FPS killed me. Like going back and forward from PC back to playing that on 30 FPS, I was like, this is difficult on my eyes hurt. So I am looking forward to actually sitting down and playing through that fully because it's one of the best games of the decade, easily.
The score to that, like the bit where you go out into the Lake of the Nines and you see Midgårdssommar, and
it literally makes your house shake.
Yeah, and I won't spoil the ending, but the song at the end, it's just I can hear it now in my head, and I haven't played it in like 2 years, and it's just it's probably one of the more modern soundtracks that probably captures the game better than most films capture their own films. Like it's up there with probably some of the best film soundtracks. Have you thought of one?
I've thought of 3.
Go on, because
you keep going about God of War for a minute. You keep going about God of War. Can I just say, I'm so grateful that the GOG launcher is a thing, and you can sync all of your other game services to one launcher, because that's just what I opened up and went, that one, oh, and that one, oh yeah, and that one, and that one. So I just remembered a load of my soundtracks that I had gone blank on. Right, well, I'm going to go with not necessarily the soundtrack for it, but one particular song off it, and I've had it on repeat for the last couple of weeks, months, since the Sky Oblivion update was put out. And it's the title song for Oblivion, Reign of the Septums. I love that song. It's the one that you confused with Pirates of the Caribbean. I'm calling you out on that.
I did. Yeah, I did. Yeah,
I just love that song. And it goes back to the same thing again. It was the intro song to our podcast last week. If you haven't watched it, go do that now. But it transports me back to summer of 2007 after I'd finished my Leaving Cert. And I played Oblivion I did my junior cert. I said junior cert, didn't I?
You said Leaving Cert.
I meant junior cert. Sorry.
I
meant junior cert. No, I was really advanced in school and did my Leaving Certificate 3 years early. For clarity, the junior cert is what we do midway through high school, and our Leaving Cert is what we do at the end of high school or college, whatever way you want to put it. But we do our junior cert around 15, 14 if you started whatever late, and you do your leaving cert around 17, 18, and they count for fuck all, to be honest with you, because yeah. But yeah, so I played Oblivion just after my junior cert in 2007, and it just transports me back to that, playing that game, and just, it was the first game that I truly say I was hooked to. I played a lot of games. That was the first one where I kind of went, oh my god, I'm in love with this game. Probably not actually. Pokemon probably did that. But it was the first real game that wasn't whatever. And it was at a time where my parents had just separated, so it was a feel-good thing. And I remember when I was playing Oblivion, so we used to see my mom a couple days of the week and my dad's a couple days of the week, and here was me lugging my 60 gigabyte PlayStation 3 from house to house just to play some Oblivion. Still have it there somewhere, actually. The old 60 gig
You
PlayStation
had it on PS3. Jesus.
I have 2 PS3s in the house. And 2 PS4s, I think. 3. No, 1 PS4, actually, because I traded into one. But yeah, just that rain, the whole Oblivion soundtrack, great. And for clarity, so is the Skyrim soundtrack. And you probably have that on your list. But Oblivion is my preferred game. I spoke about it several times now. But just that, the Reign of the Septum song, it's just the intro, just, yes. It brings me back to the summer of 2007, where everything was surprisingly great, considering what was going on in my life. Because I was playing Oblivion. I was a wood elf, so I didn't give a shit about what was going on.
Oh, you went with wood elf, did you?
I went with a wood elf.
Okay, interesting. Yeah. I think I went red, whatever they are. Red something.
Guard.
Red guard, yeah. Is that them? Yeah. Mm. Kind of the middle of the class, does everything.
Yeah.
And then obviously I've just become a stealth archer then.
Oh, so did I, because I was a wood elf. I wanted to be Legolas as a kid, okay? And that still hasn't really changed. I wouldn't mind being Orlando Bloom.
Especially when my wife goes on about him. Jesus, I'm mindful of that action.
You need to get her to watch Carnival Row with you then, because he's in that, and he's actually Orlando. I love Orlando Bloom. He's fantastic as Legolas, because I love Lord of the Rings, and Legolas is great. But he's actually really good in Carnival Row, and so is Cara Delevingne.
Oh yeah. Oh,
I wouldn't be the biggest fan of her as an actor. Suicide Squad is what it is, but she's actually quite good in Carnival Row, and she does a really, really good Dublin accent. Surprisingly, she does a really thick Dublin Irish accent in Carnival Row.
Why is she doing a thick Dublin Irish accent?
I don't know. She just is, okay? But it works, and it's actually a really good accent. It's not the whole, hey, I'm a leprechaun and I have my lucky charms. It's not that. She has an actual Irish accent, and it's really good. And you should watch Carnival Row, because it's really fucking good.
Okay, I may look into that now.
No, just go watch it.
Oh yeah, that's what I mean. Yeah. Look, the Elder Scrolls.
Just the Elder Scrolls in general. Yeah. Like I remember when
go again.
6, when Elder Scrolls 6 was shown off for the first time at E3. You knew it was an Elder Scrolls game just by the way the music was building up. So yeah, it's great. So it's my go again, is it?
Yep, go for it again.
I am going to throw in one for Dylan, as he's not here, and I know that if he was here, this is the soundtrack that he would want to talk about, and it's the Death Stranding soundtrack.
Oh yeah.
So I haven't played a lot of Death Stranding, even though I would have been a huge Kojima fan. Destiny gets in the way, let's be honest. But you are traversing across the landscape in Death Stranding, and a song kicks in, and the way that whether you like his games or not, Kojima's a genius. And the way that the songs are positioned throughout Death Stranding, really add to the experience and make it a really unique and fascinating experience. And I know that if Dylan was here, he would want to talk about the Death Stranding soundtrack. I've listened to the whole soundtrack externally to playing the game, and it's fantastic. And there's Bring Me the Horizon on there, so I love it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I've only literally played that part that you're on about, and it was
yeah. It's like
it's
you're wandering around, and then the camera kind of pans out, and the songs
mm,
kick in. It's like this is just it's an experience, and
yeah,
yeah, it's a really revolutionary way of using music in games. I know Doom does it in its
mhm,
way. A lot of games like MMOs do it in their own way, but I think Kojima did it in a really unique way. I just thought of another soundtrack that I couldn't remember 5 minutes ago. But yeah, I thought because Dylan's not here, we should have one in his honor, and I know he would have chosen Death Stranding because he
yeah.
would have. So
No,
does that
good one.
count as one of mine, or do I still have to use another one of mine?
Do you want to use one, or do you want me to
I
just go?
can get one out of the way quickly, because I
Go
don't
on,
want to
go
talk
for it.
about it because it's a bit divisive even on our show here. And there's two songs that I love. It's the title song for The Last of Us. That kind of guitar strumming, you'd know it if you
Yeah,
heard it. It's real kind of
yeah, yeah.
eerie. It's real, but also the use of Pearl Jam. I think it's Pearl Jam. The Pearl Jam where Joel picks up the guitar at the beginning of Last of Us 2 and plays the Future Days. I think it's by Pearl Jam. I really hope I haven't got the band wrong here. Let me do a little quick. Yeah, I am right. It's Future Days by Pearl Jam. Is that if I ever was to lose you, I'd surely lose myself.
Yeah.
Blah blah blah. And it's the placement. It's not necessarily the song or The Last of Us. It's the placement of that song in the game. It was at a really beautiful time, and yeah, I just wanted to touch on that real quickly because I actually really like that song. And then they also,
Yeah.
when they were showing off, when was it? It was that song. Was it at the PlayStation 5 reveal? They actually had the singer from Pearl Jam sing a live acoustic version of that. I think it was at the
Oh, yeah.
PlayStation 5 reveal, but it was really well done. And yeah, it was just the placement of that song in it before um, golf golf club happens. I think it was a golf club. Yeah,
Golf Gate.
yeah, golf club. Anyway, it's just really well done. But yeah, I'd actually kind of well, not annoyed me because I really couldn't care less about game awards, but the fact that The Last of Us 2 won a music award for 2020 and Final Fantasy Remake and Cyberpunk didn't make the list kind of pissed a lot of people off, and that was kind of wrong. But anyway, I won't get into
Just
it.
throwing that out there. Yeah,
Just,
yeah, yeah.
just throwing a little bit of sass out there because it didn't deserve it.
Fair enough. Especially with the remake
Especially
on the
the remake.
list.
Like, even if the remake didn't win it, like there was like plenty of stuff come out with fantastic soundtracks, and in the year that Doom Eternal came out as well, fair enough.
Yeah.
But The Last of Us shouldn't have even been nominated. It just shouldn't have been. But anyway, water off a duck's back.
Um, I'm gonna throw two of them because they're from the same game series, and I won't spend too long because I've talked about these before to death. But the Silent Hill soundtracks, in particular, Silent Hill Two.
I didn't know you liked Silent Hill.
No, I haven't mentioned it. Maybe once a while ago, like last week, for a while. But
Quite
anyway,
a while.
um, the Silent Hill 2 and Silent Hill Homecoming soundtracks in particular are phenomenal. 2 is the definitive soundtrack, and again, we go back to the hook for the intro. When you
Mm.
like let a game idle for long enough and they play their trailer, and the song to that is called Promise. I think it is, yeah, Promise. And it's just it starts off with a guitar and then just breaks into this full band just playing, and it's phenomenal. Such a good song, and the rest of the soundtrack is amazing too. And like the remake, I can place where I am in the game from hearing it. But then Silent Hill Homecoming then is one of the newer ones, and while it's not a great game, the soundtrack to it is really good. It's a band again. It's actually, I think it's Machine Head sing one of the songs.
Ooh,
Actually,
I love me.
I
I love
think
me some Machine Head.
I
It's
think
just
so.
anger. It's just anger. It's great.
Yeah, but they have a girl who sings other songs, but there's like the intro song is called Witchcrafts, and it's fantastic, and the songs suit the boss fights, and it's haunting. So yeah, Silent Hill
Can I
2
actually
and Homecoming.
you just mentioned something there that triggered something with me? Just touch back to Cyberpunk for a second, and in Cyberpunk, I know, but the band in Cyberpunk, Johnny's band, Samurai, have a song called. Oh fuck! I've got a blank on the name of the song. Never Fade Away. And for the end credits, they did a different version of it where they recorded it with a female artist, and it's just it like the samurai version of it is that metal shouting in your face, "We'll never fade away" stuff, and then the other ones are real soothing kind of electronic pop version. It's just really nice. It's if Nora Jones sang metal, it'd be quite soothing and nice. Anyway, I'm gonna touch on the soundtrack of a game that kind of introduced me to pop punk and kind of rock music or metal, and it's because of my friend John, from when I was younger, introduced me to it. And it's a game again I've spoken about a couple times, but it's the soundtrack from Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. Not
Yes.
two, not one or two, but Rage Against the Machine,
Oh.
and that it's Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3. And
Mhm.
like it's got so many great songs. It's got Ramones, Blitzkrieg Pop on it. It's got the Chili Peppers on it. It introduced me to Motorhead and Lemmy and Ace of Spades. It's got a bit of House of Pain, Alien Ant Farm's in there. There's
Which,
AFI, CKY, 96 Quite Bitter Beats.
yes.
What a song! Like, yeah. And then there's the Adolescence Amoeba, which is another great song, and is apparently it's also on GTA 5. I've just noticed on this list that I'm reading out. But yeah, the Pro Skater 3 soundtrack was
Yeah,
chef's kiss.
absolutely.
It was great.
Yeah. Mhm.
And in fairness, all the Tony Hawk's games had good pop punk
Yeah.
soundtracks. I know, was it 4 or Underground had a lot of UK pop punk on it, and that was fucking great as well. But no, the
Mhm.
Pro Skater 3 takes the title for best soundtrack of those games for me. And again, it transports me back to that. I'm 10 years old playing Tony Hawk's on the 12-inch by 12-inch TV in my bedroom.
Landing all the tricks you just know you weren't going to do in real life.
Yeah, I think that was the problem with Tony Hawk's games. They really set an unachievable expectation on young skaters. But yeah,
Great soundtrack. Yeah,
fucking great soundtrack.
yeah. I had
But you
that
know
on
what
the
was, you know
list
what
too.
was great about it though, and I'm pretty sure you could skip songs, I think.
Yeah,
You pressed
and
in the
actually,
R3, wasn't it? And it's like, I'm just
yeah.
gonna listen to Ace of Spades over and over again. Oh, maybe you couldn't skip songs, but you could disable songs. I
So
think
this
that's
is
what it
where
was.
I was gonna go, because another game that had a killer soundtrack, but there was like 4 or 5 that I just loved, was Need for Speed 2 Underground,
Yes.
and I
Yes.
had like Riders on the Storm. I
Riders on the
had
Storm. There was 30 Seconds to Mars in there. You had some
what else?
Lost Prophets. You
There was.
had
I just that was one of the games where you could go into the menus and disable all the
yeah,
songs you didn't like,
yeah.
and it would just keep playing. Like, this is
It was
great.
great. I think Underground had the best soundtrack.
I had Skin Dread as well.
Yeah.
Do you remember that song? Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh,
Great. It was I remember the Underground soundtrack was pretty spectacular. Riders on the Storm, yeah, what a song. But it had it was Edge of the Earth by 30 Seconds to Mars was on it.
yeah. There's some good songs on them. Good times in those days where you got licensed music.
Mm-hmm.
Wouldn't get away with that now.
No, you just make your own. And saying that, actually, like, about transporting you back to a time, when I hear the song Billie Jean by MJ, I can see myself driving across bridges in GTA Vice City. Like that's just when I hear Billie Jean, and especially if I'm in the car and Billie Jean comes on, I'm driving through Vice City. It's just the
Hope
way
you're
it
not like
is.
running over pedestrians or
It's
anything,
just
are
the
you?
way it is. But like Vice City had like San Andreas too. San Andreas had a the intro song to San Andreas, that real
Mm,
80s Miami Vice, seedy Hollywood, well, seedy Miami
America.
team that dude, I can't even do it. I'm not even going to butcher it, but it's so good. It's just
Yeah.
it's Miami Vice. Yeah, it's great. But like what's it? Vice City had Guns N' Roses on it. It had Welcome to the Jungle. It had Motley Crue on it. It had a great
Yeah.
soundtrack.
I think that was my favorite soundtrack to
Yeah,
GTA's.
Flash FM.
Yeah.
Now San Andreas had a
Yeah.
great soundtrack as well. Like that had some Leonard Skinner on it. It had I'm trying to think what else was on there, but it had a really good soundtrack as well. It's not as that Vice City soundtrack is. It's iconic, really. Like the
Yeah.
radio soundtracks from that are great.
Hmm. Definitely.
Tommy
Um,
Rossetti.
Jesus. Haven't heard that name in a long time.
Mm.
Have you many more?
I have a couple more that I could go to. You?
Yeah,
There,
I've got one more album or two more albums, but like I can quickly mention them, and then a few
yeah,
songs from games that are
yeah. Like the ones I have are they're ones that are fantastic and they deserve to be mentioned. They're not games that I have really completed, but I have some soundtracks. But yeah, no, I've really done most of mine that I can think of. My real favorite ones, anyway.
yeah. There's one of mine that's a favorite that I'll mention but won't talk about too much.
Mm-hmm.
But the soundtrack to Crisis Core Final Fantasy VII
Mm-hmm.
is
We already
unbelievable.
spoke about Final Fantasy.
Well, it's going in there because it's Crisis Core first, all right?
That's fair.
It's
That's
not,
fair.
but
There's a
yeah,
loophole.
if you
There's a
get
loophole.
loophole, yeah, that's when they first started moving into the more rocky stuff for the Final Fantasy VII
Yeah.
game, and they do a rendition of blooming in the flower blooming in the slums for Aerith's theme, and it's
Mm.
beautiful because it's all guitar
Man,
and it's just
I
so
could
well done.
like sit down and just listen to that 7 remake soundtrack and just talk about each song the whole way through.
Yeah,
But I won't.
but we won't.
We won't.
No. And then actually the only other thing that I have on my list, it's a game that I played a tiny bit of, but I've heard this song, which I think is the ending song, and it's the title of the game. It's Undertale.
I haven't
Um,
played Undertale. It's been recommended to me, but I've watched videos and kind of gone, I'm not gonna play that. But I have heard
I
good things.
I've played bits of it and it's good, but I've heard this song. I think it just came up my Spotify recommended list, and it's just so good. It's just this like brings you back to the SNES and NES days of
Mm.
that 8-bit era, and um, the song. It's just this real beautiful song, and then becomes more triumphant and victorious as it goes on, and I could listen to that song all day. It's so good.
I think that's one thing we haven't really touched on too much is SNES and NES, and even before that, like stuff, because it was kind of before our time a little bit in terms of soundtracks. But like you got like the Castlevania soundtracks are all fantastic. Like Mario's soundtracks, iconic. The Sonic soundtracks, iconic. It's just like you hear it and it's like, it's Mario, or it's Sonic, or
Yeah.
yeah. And then you got again, like you got Streets of Rage, and that they all have very iconic soundtracks. But I wouldn't say they're my favorite ones, but they are just
No,
they're there and they deserve recognition. But we're not talking about them.
no.
Um, so one that deserves a mention because they are both fantastic games, and the way the gameplay is kind of woven around the soundtrack, and or the soundtrack's woven around the gameplay, but they're kind of synonymous, and that is the two Ori games. And the soundtrack in the two Ori games are they're put your feet up and play it and get high and just enjoy them soundtracks. Not that I do that, in case anyone's watching, I don't do that. But I remember Louise came back from, I think she came back from work, or she was out somewhere, and I was playing Ori Will of the Wisps, and she was like, "Oh, this game's really cute. This isn't like what you usually play. Why are you playing this?" I'm like, "Because it's really cute." And then shit started happening. She was like, "This game's not cute." But yeah, the soundtracks are the soundtracks are melt away to them. Melt away listening to them. I had one more that I wanted to touch on. I'm gonna cheat actually.
Oh,
So, and only because I want to mention Duel of the Fates. But Star Wars The Phantom Menace on PlayStation 1 was a very average game, but Duel of the Fates is a fantastic song and I love it. And I got it in there because I wanted to. And also, actually, I can cheat as well. Lord of the Rings, The Two Towers and Return of the King, released on PS2. And the Lord of the Rings soundtracks are the best soundtracks ever made. And I will fight you on a hill to the death. I will die on this hill and you will die with me. Because Lord of the Rings, while they are the pinnacle of cinema, and again, I will fight you to death on this hill, the soundtracks Lord of the Rings are so good.
Yep.
Goosebumps.
No,
It's the same with any movie series or trilogy or iconic movies. Like Harry Potter has its soundtrack, and it's got its wonderful songs. Jurassic Park, we mentioned, Back to the Future. They all have their soundtracks, and they're great. They're just great. But we're not talking about movies today, so Kev, shut the fuck up.
Editor.
There's no editor. What are you on about? I just made that up. There was one more soundtrack that I wanted to go to. And again, I have forgotten what it is. Actually,
Typical.
We haven't spoken about any of them, and I'm just going to cover them as a whole. And it is FromSoft soundtracks for any Dark Souls, Demon Souls, Bloodborne. Sekiro is slightly different, but any of those soundtracks, the way they use them to create more immersive encounters is it's great. So anything from Software, thank you. We love you very much. Where's Elden Ring and does it exist? I don't know which is the best out of the soundtrack. Like Bloodborne's so dark and so depressing, but the soundtrack's great. And actually, because it is March is the time of year when FromSoft games generally release. Like Sekiro released around then, Bloodborne released around then. So my Facebook memories at the moment are just Sekiro and Bloodborne boss fight videos. So I'm sending them to Stephen every day, and it's great. Today was Martyr Lorgarius, who kicked my ass for a good 5 minutes, but I beat him.
I just had to laugh that you just did not get the hint about that skull shield.
I got the hint. I just ignored it.
There were some bullshit hits in that, though, to be fair. But anyway.
There were. Yeah, I think I'm pretty much done with my list. The only other one that I can kind of think of is Portal. You know,
I have Portal 2 here.
Yeah, you know where is it Gladys starts singing the song? It's fucking great.
This was a triangle.
Yeah. It's great.
And even in number 2, what's the one in? Oh yeah, but the whole
Portal's great. If you haven't played Portal 1 or 2, do yourself a favor and go play Portal 1 and 2. Like, if you don't own it, I'll gift it to you for the first person who asks, and only the first person who asks. I'm not getting myself into trouble there. And then you've obviously got the likes of Hellblade, Senua's Sacrifice. Like the way the whole sound design works in that game is revolutionary. It's just creates so much immersion. It's insane.
I'm going to.
I have it there.
I have it on Game Pass now, so I
have it on Steam.
Yeah.
So will we talk about? Are you done, by the way? Sorry, or do you have any more you want to touch on?
No.
Okay.
No.
Can we touch on one soundtrack that we hate quickly?
I know you want to. Go
I
on.
want to, because this soundtrack, it's from when I was younger, but it just makes me angry. And it's the Chemical Plant Zone soundtrack from Sonic the Hedgehog. And oh my god, that soundtrack just triggers me. Just like thinking about it, it makes me a little bit triggered, I'm not gonna lie. So I really hate that. So, not because it's bad, I just hate it because what it represents to me. Childhood
I actually
anger.
I don't think I have anything like that except the sound effect for when you're losing oxygen in Sonic. That triggers me and gives me
Oh,
severe anxiety.
my pupils just dilated just thinking about that.
Mhm.
Yeah,
Yeah. So if there's one sound in games that I hate, it's that one.
that one. Fair
That one
enough.
is fucking toxic.
Yeah.
But no,
So
I
will
don't think I have
we?
an album.
No, you're done.
Go on. Done.
Will we touch on our experience with PlayStation 5 or will we go to the
What
news?
time are we at? What
We're at
time are we at?
140.
Go to the news.
We could talk about it quick if you wanted, but I personally don't have a whole lot to say because I've only really played Spider-Man on it and a bit of Cyberpunk, but I haven't really played a lot on my PS5 because it's in it's in the main room, and I don't want to be sitting there playing that while Louise wants to be doing something because it's kind of invading her space. I was planning on buying a TV for this room, but we're getting the back garden done, so that's been put in the back burner a little bit, pun intended.
Ooh.
But it'll be worth it. Like you've seen the back garden, it needs to be done. So that's happening next week, and I'm excited to have it done because we will have a nice back garden for the summer for
Yeah.
one person barbecues. So yeah, shall we just go? What's your experience with PlayStation 5, or do you want to leave
I
it
love
for
it.
another
But
week?
I'll just sum it up. Like, I love it. Not enough games. Um and I'm really excited to see what they do with the tech because they're bringing ray tracing in somewhat.
Yeah.
So it'll be interesting to see games 4 or 5 years down the line when they've matured the development kit and they know what they're doing to see what we're going to get. Because I think with how things are, we potentially are at a part where not that the PS5 will outperform a PC, but where it makes to get a PS5 if you can't afford a high-end
Yes,
PC.
100%. Like the gap has been narrowed. Obviously not to the top end because that will it'll never catch up. But unless we get modular consoles, but yeah, the gap has definitely been narrowed,
Yeah, like
and
okay, taking
we
it
haven't even seen it yet.
no, and take away the current GPU madness. So to get the same performance, you're looking at a 3060, which is what, €300.
€400.
So let's just even say 300 just to make it cheaper. Then you're gonna need a CPU to go with that. So you're talking maybe a Ryzen 3600. So maybe another €180. And you're not going to get the same performance as you would with a PS5 now. Like a stable 60 that will run quite good. Not for 499. Something that I don't think
Okay,
so.
not for 499, but a 3060 surely outperforms the PS5.
Oh no, it does. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
But that's like that's the cheapest GPU you're going to get in that will do ray tracing.
2060 does ray tracing.
Oh, it does. Oh,
Yeah.
it.
Not very well, but it does.
Yeah.
Yeah, it
Yeah.
does. It does.
It might. I suppose in 4 years' time we'll find out what the capability of the PS5 actually is, and then we can make fair comparisons.
But that's the issue you're going to run into in 4 years' time when the PS5 is running at, or the Xbox Series X for what it's worth, is running at its prime. PC gaming will be on 5080s and 6080s, and they'll completely just blow them out of the fucking water. That's the unfortunate reality of owning a console, is that when they release every 7 years or whatever, we might see a shorter lifespan now. But by the time developers are making games at the peak that they can for that generation of console, PC gaming has moved forward 3 or 4 times already. That's just reality. It's an expensive reality, but it's the reality. But yeah, I'm looking forward to more games to come out for it. Like I'm like the likes of say Kena or Kana, whatever it fucking is, Bridge of Spirits. That's coming to Epic, but I will probably pick that up on PlayStation, just because the difference in quality is not going to be noticeable, but I can play it on my sofa.
What I have found actually, and I've never had this before, and it's really frustrating. I cannot use a controller anymore for shooting games.
No, me neither.
So
I can't.
I tried playing Destiny, couldn't do it.
No.
Do
you know what it feels like?
Tried playing Cyberpunk and I couldn't do it.
No, me neither. Do you know what it feels like? Do you know when you got drunk on GTA 4?
Yeah.
That's what it feels like to me.
Yeah.
But I can play a third-person RPG, no problem.
Absolutely, yeah.
But
so I think that's what my PS5 will become.
And do you know what I think it is? I actually think it's the FOV.
I
think it's a combination, but it's a more so for me. It's the FOV makes me feel blinkered.
Yeah. Okay.
Anyway, but we'll see. I still don't like playing first-person games with a controller. I just don't like the movement with the. It feels counterintuitive to me now.
Yeah, I just can't unless it's a precision mouse.
But like third person RPGs or anything like that, no problem. I actually kind of prefer it sometimes. Just kind of like lean back and just chill with the controller in your hand. But yeah, I want more games, but hopefully we'll be getting more games fairly soon.
Yeah,
that is not a segue. I don't think that is not a segue.
Unless you go with the news article I gave you first.
Unless you do, but I'm not going with that first. So we will move on to the news, because we've been talking about soundtracks for quite a while, and we're wrapping it up here in another 2 hours because we want to. This is a PSA. This is an FYI. It is a do not join my Discord chat if you do not own this piece of software, and it is NVIDIA's NVIDIA Broadcast, which was formerly known as NVIDIA RTX Voice. This piece of software is incredible. If you don't have it, you can now get it without an RTX card, which they were previously stuck to people with RTX 20 series or RTX 30 series. It's amazing. Like, if you've seen NVIDIA Broadcast work, I could literally sit here clapping and you will not hear my mic pick it up. You mouse clicks, keyboard clicks, it blocks it all out. And it's an incredible. Like, you can't hear it. It's amazing. Like, you just can't hear it. It's incredible. Like, I was sitting here one day, I picked up something metallic and a fork, and I was like that, banging on it, and it was not picking it up. So, please, PC gamers, go get yourself RTX NVIDIA Broadcast, because it's a wonderful piece of software.
But it does only work on NVIDIA GPUs, so am I right?
I'd be surprised if it worked with an AMD GPU.
I know, but I'm just putting that out because you said PC gamers get it, and let's not forget PC gamers are split between AMD and NVIDIA.
In that case, if you have an AMD GPU, go onto eBay, sell it, and buy yourself an NVIDIA GPU just to get this piece of software. Thank you. Moving on swiftly to E3, which is going ahead, it seems. It begins June 12th and runs to June 15th. They've announced some fairly reputable developers, etc. for this. I think the likes of Microsoft have signed on. So here it is. Early commitments from Nintendo, Xbox, Capcom, Konami, the games company, Ubisoft, Take-Two, Warner Brothers. So most of them are there. So hopefully that is a good time, and hopefully we don't have to pay for it. I would expect Sony to do their own thing around about this time, probably a week before or a week after, just to get some attention back on PlayStation. Because let's be honest, Xbox has been slaying at the moment, and that is a segue. Yep. That is a segue because this is a double piece of news. So a new game's coming out for PlayStation 5 called Abandoned, and people had spinfoil hatted themselves into believing that it was a secret Hideo Kojima game. Did you see that?
I did.
So the developers Blue Box Games came out and had to basically say, but they put out a post saying, no, we aren't owned by Hideo Kojima. He is definitely not working on this game. But, and I'm pretty sure it was Jeff Grubb was the one who spoke about this. I could be wrong in saying that myself. But apparently Hideo is in communications with Microsoft about developing his next title, whether that's a new IP or an old IP or if it's just Death Stranding, we don't know, for Xbox. And Uncle Phil hinted at this in the background of his announcement video that he did. I don't know when it was from, but he had the Kojima model in the background. But yeah, I think it's a new IP.
I would say so.
Yeah. I don't know. Jeff said that he doesn't know if deals have closed or if it's been finalized, but Kojima is the focus for Microsoft to leverage some Japanese talents, because that's the one thing Xbox really doesn't have over Sony, and video games are fucking huge in Japan.
Yeah, no, they need to.
So it's gonna be interesting to see how this unfolds. I think Kojima sees himself as a revolutionary, and what Xbox have been doing over the last couple of years, especially, is revolutionizing the games industry, and how Games Pass blows everything out of the water right now. They've bought Bethesda to release them as exclusives. Let's be probably honest. So Kojima working with Xbox, kind of ironically, considering he's been PlayStation for as long as anyone can remember, really. Like, Metal Gear was a PlayStation game. They kind of go hand in hand. Like, they really do fit together nicely. So it's going to be interesting to see how this unfolds. But at the end of the day, Xbox, big bag of money. Here you go. Like, he's not going to turn it down because of some loyalty he's expected to have. Let's be honest, he's an independent developer. He can do what the fuck he wants, and you're gonna go where the money is, because more money means you can make more games. So anyway,
it's exciting.
Stephen, we will move on to the one that you want to talk about, and that is Shadowbringers. Not Shadowbringers, sorry. Yeah, Shadowbringers patch 5.5, Death Unto Dawn, comes on April 13th. There is a trailer here. I'm not going to play it because there might be music in it, but there is new story, new challenges, a new dungeon, new trials. I don't know what all these are. I'm just listing out stuff that's in front of me. But Stephen, do you want to talk about this quickly?
Just two main things. It's the last patch before the next expansion. Anyone who's keeping up with it knows where the story's going, and this will be a really interesting. The 0.5 patches, are like the last ones before the next expansion, are always really, really phenomenal. But what's also really interesting is we're getting the PS5 beta, which puts it in line and has actually improved upon the PC version because you're getting things like Ultra HD UI, which isn't on the PC and is coming to it because of the PS5. Um, so yeah, so if you haven't played it in a while or are looking to get into it, now is a really good time because there's going to be a lull between this patch and the expansion, and it's a great time to try and jump in and uh, catch up on what is probably one of the best Final Fantasy stories they've ever made. Kev,
I'll eventually play it.
you've got
Eventually.
about 4 months.
I
I'll
have.
run
I
you
have.
through, you and Dale. And if anyone wants to do it, just hit me up. You see my Twitter tag down here now. I
Other
hope.
side.
Down here, I
There you
hope.
go. Right, last bit of news then. It came out early this week, so we got it before the podcast, was this week's TWAB, this week at Bungie, however you want to pronounce it. It was fairly light, and there was some information about weapons coming to Iron Banner. There's the hand cannons coming back, familiar snipers coming back, but the highlight of it was the weapon tuning for season 14, which is beginning in the middle of May. And it's really about bringing 120 RPM hand cannons back in a little bit because they are quite dominant in PvP right now. It's basically use a 120 hand cannon or don't use a hand cannon really. Fallen Guillotine has been brought back in for PvE. And then they're taking chip damage away from certain weapons such as swords and Bastion, because they were causing issues with stasis encounter mechanics, especially stasis enemies. And other than that, they spoke about some perks. That quick draw is getting, I think it's just getting taken away from certain shotguns because it's if you don't have quick draw, what's the point basically? And yeah, that's basically it. They also spoke about how Bastion is going to intrinsically stagger unstoppable, so Dill will be happy about that. But I think it's
That's
getting
good.
a slight nerf in PvP because it's been used a little bit above average right now. It's been quite popular recently. But yeah, that's all I've got in terms of news. I know a new Apex event got announced. I didn't really look into it. I think that starts next week as well. But yeah. Just to clarify, that was a rumor about Kojima and Xbox. Before anybody goes and tells me that I'm wrong, it's a rumor. A rumor. But it would be pretty cool just to see the fucking Sony fanboys lose their shit about it. Just because it'd be funny and I like chaos.
Some people just like to watch the world burn.
We do. We do.
Mm-hmm. Well, I will say that something that happened while you were talking, not about news, but just because it's a person commented on our YouTube on a video, and I'm going to call them out on it now. Dan commented saying, "Things are allowed to be older than me, you boomer." And guess what? This podcast is still older than you, Dan.
I don't know who's calling the boomer. He generally calls me a boomer. But
Oh, he's definitely calling you the boomer, yeah.
Definitely calling me a boomer.
Yeah. Doesn't know me well enough to call me a boomer.
Do you know, right? If I'd known Dan when Destiny 1 first came out, I wouldn't have played with him because he would have been a squeaker.
Mm-hmm.
He's just lucky he's an adult now.
I'm good.
And good.
I hope he only listens to this on the audio.
Hopefully. Anyway, yeah, I think that's us, really. I enjoyed talking about soundtracks. It's been something I wanted to do for quite a while. I did have a bit of a brain fart in the middle of it all and forgot half of what I wanted to speak about. But they came back to me. Maybe I am a boomer. Anyway.
I don't know what that makes me.
Don't
want to know.
An archaeological find, I guess. So yeah, Dylan will probably be back next week. He's going to be really annoyed when he sees the Twitter handles were included in the 1 week he's not here. But we do have one for him for next week, so he will be back. And I think we're talking about weapons that we love in video games next week. I think that's what this week was supposed to be, but it wasn't. So yes.
You make it sound like we've planned these things far in advance.
Maybe we do, maybe we don't.
No one know. It's our secret.
It's our secret. But yeah, Stephen, do you want to close us out there if there's nothing else you want to talk about?
No, nothing else. So if you've stayed with us, thank you again. We really do appreciate it. We both really enjoy talking about something we're clearly both passionate about, soundtracks. We hope you are as passionate as we are, and if you are, let us know. I know I definitely will be listening to some people's suggestions. So thanks again for tuning in, and we'll see you again next week. Goodbye.
And from me, thank you for popping in and listening and sticking with us. As always, the links to all of the news stuff I brought up will be in that description down there, below the like and subscribe button. So if you manage to sneeze and click on them on the way down, that's perfectly fine with us. But yes, thank you for listening.